Welcome back to the 80s at the Fixed Ops Roundtable. Jeremy Stevens is taking Fixed Ops by storm. I see him everywhere on social media. He's on multiple platforms. He's been a great contributor to this event. He's the Fixed Operations Director at a large dealership group in North Carolina and a leadership group, coach with John Maxwell. Jeremy, welcome back to the Fixed Ops Roundtable.
Oh, thank you for having me. I'm glad to be here.
Impressed with your resume, my friend. And, we were just talking on another panel how fixed ops has really come to the forefront, Jeremy, with all that's happening in our industry. And that's where the growth is foreseen over the next 5, 10, 15 years. What are your thoughts about that?
It definitely is. It's starting to get a little bit of attention because they're realizing how important it is, because
Yeah.
that's the backbone of the dealership. And there's a lot, what's great about it is there's a lot of young talent coming in that's doing a little stuff a little differently, and it's creating a lot more ideas and that brainstorming. And it's a pretty cool time to be in this industry because of that.
I agree. And I think all these forces are converging, including the technology and the social media. So,
Yes.
look how it is to build a network, right? I mean, it's amazing. So, okay, let's talk, Jeremy. I want to talk a little bit about you today, if I can. Tell us, what was your first job in automotive, and how'd you get in?
So it was in the 90s. So my first automotive job was at a full service gas station. So every time that bell rang, I had to run outside and pump people's gas. And it was a great experience because you got customer service, because some of the people weren't very friendly, but it was a great entry level. And even back then, when I interviewed for this position, you can't do this now, but he did it back then, is my job interview was to put rear shocks on a Buick, old Buick. And it was already up on the lift. And this guy didn't know me from Adam. And that was my job interview. And
Wow.
so luckily I installed them correctly, and I got the job.
Wow. Now, where was this? Where did this happen?
This is my hometown in Fuquay Varina in North
Okay.
Carolina.
North
It was
Carolina.
right out of high school. So that was my cutting my teeth in the automotive world.
Wow. So you started off in a service station, and how long did you do that, and where'd that take you?
So I did that for about a year because I was going to a technical school. And as soon as I finished that, I went to a Chevrolet dealership as a technician. And I continued that career for a good while.
Wow. So technician background, and I'm sure that prepared you for what you're doing now. And knowing, not every fixed ops director, was a technician, right? I think that's valuable, super valuable experience.
It does. It helps you relate with everybody at the dealership, especially with the technicians, and you're kind of already on their side walking into that role, because when you're working with them, they know that you've had that experience. And with customers, you have a little bit technical aspect of it too. So you're able to communicate a little bit easier with the customers because of that background.
Do you still work on cars? I got to ask you.
I do. So we have a reconditioning center, and every once in a while I'll go in there at lunchtime and I'll try to work on some stuff. I'm not as good as I once was. I can say that. I'm looking through wiring diagrams trying to help technicians. I was like, oh my gosh, this has changed a little bit, but it's still, I still kind of go in there and help out just because I really like that part.
You're right. The game has changed. The technology has changed. So, how long were you a tech, and why did you stop being a tech?
So I was a tech tool probably about 14 years ago, and I knew I wanted something more, because I felt like I could help the whole entire group. And basically I was a little upset with the managers at that point, because I get frustrated when a manager won't make a decision, left, right, let's make a decision and get moving. But I had that burning desire that I wanted to be in leadership, and I wanted to lead a group of technicians and service advisors. So I love working on cars, but there was something that was drawing me away from it.
Mhm. Was it what you expected when you first did that, or was it, describe that, transition from tech to, leader or manager?
Oh, it was horrible. Uh, so Friday I was a technician at a Chevy store, and I hit my P. I was very good at it.
Okay.
And then Monday I was a service manager, and I'm trying to dress like a service, a tech used to wearing a uniform, and I now have to wear a button up shirt. And And I remember sitting in that office my first day, and it's like, what the heck do you do now? It's like, and it was just that clue, you knew what to do, but it's like, I'm here by myself now. Um,
Mhm.
and then working through it, I was like, this is a mistake and this is a mistake. And, I had to fight that. And then, I talked to some people, and I kind of got, set in place, and I stumbled across some leadership content. And as soon as I did that, then it was like a rocket ship at that point.
All right. So before you came upon the leadership content, did you have a network of people you could reach out to, or were you kind of all alone, doing this, making that transition? And by the way, was it a pay cut initially going into management?
It was a pay cut because the store I went to was a failing store. It was
Mhm.
almost a store you got sent to when you didn't behave at the good store.
Yeah.
But the owner really believed that I was the right guy, and it's like, man, it's like it was a tough transition because of the pay cut. Um, but looking back now, it was the best opportunity because I saw what that store could be. So it kind of overshadowed the pay cut that I did take.
What's the name of the dealer group where you are?
Heister Automotive Group.
And was this at Heaster or not yet?
Yeah, no, this was at Heister. I've been at this Heister Group for 20 years now, since the beginning. And the owner, John Heister, he knew I could do it, and he was my mentor going into it. Um, and he helped me guide through it, but he came from sales. A lot of our general managers, and they come from sales, so they can help me with the people side of it. But anything else, I kind of, I took a little bit of Chrysler training and a little service managers training, but it didn't, it would help, but not a lot.
Okay, so let's talk about that leadership content you came upon. What was that? And was that the main thing that helped you becoming a manager, or are there other things?
So it was the main thing that triggered it. So I was frustrated because I went through, as soon as I took this management job, I took a pay cut. I was actually working two jobs, so I'd go to other people's shop to earn cash. My dad ended up at the hospital and eventually passed away. And I had all these hits back to back. And so my first 4 months of management was very tough.
Mm.
And then my mom went to a yard sale one time and saw this book, autobiography of Leah Iacocca. And if you're in the car world, you know who this guy is. And she gave it to me, and I read this book, and I was just interested because he helped develop the Ford Mustang, and I'm a Ford Mustang fan. And so I read it, and in that book, a lot of stuff, any books, there's good things and bad things, but he had like basic management principles in there. And for some reason it clicked.
Hmm.
And as soon as it clicked, I started forming some management thing. And usually when you start in this growth process, your eyes open and you see things differently. And then it kind of leads you to somewhere else. And it kind of stumbled me to the John Maxwell. Um, and once I started doing that, then I really started, my eyes were open, and it's like, oh my gosh, I've been doing this totally wrong.
Wow. Um, I've often, when I've done service training workshops, I've used the Maxwell books, a great author, great content. I've used those, as things that I would point to, or even giveaways. But talk a little bit more about Maxwell, and how you took it from there.
So I discovered Maxwell cleaning out the forbidden closet at the dealership. You always, it seems like there's always a junk closet. And one day I just got tired of it, and I started clearing it out, and I stumbled across the VHS tapes of John Maxwell,
Oh,
and it was 21 laws of leadership. And I was like, what the heck is these laws about? And I took it, and I didn't have no VHS player, so I couldn't play these tapes. So I found them
those
on
were the
YouTube.
21 irrefutable laws, right?
Yes, that's right.
Remember.
Yeah. So that was my introduction. But what he taught me was just the basic principles of leadership. And he broke it down in something that just spoke to me, basically, because I was trying to overcomplicate things, because I was always under the deception that you were born a leader, and that some people have it and some people don't.
Oh,
And then when I started contacting with John Maxwell, I realized that anybody can be a leader, because it's possible, because these are skills that you can learn. And that's when the first one, he has the 5 levels of leadership, and it really slapped me in the face, especially the first level that you're a manager and people have to follow you because they have to, because you got your badge, your manager tag.
Mhm.
And then I really started, the relationship part with the employees, and then one thing led to another. Um, and then I just started drinking the Kool-Aid and leadership from that point, and eventually came, a certified coach for John Maxwell because I just believe in leadership so much.
I've heard that great leaders are made, not born. Is that true?
That is true. I didn't believe it 15 years ago, but I believe it now.
Well, and I imagine all of these experiences have helped mold you and shape you. And so let's talk about that. Where you are now, okay? You're a fixed operations director, um, obviously successful. Jeremy, how do you not plateau? How do you keep going to the next? What drives you, okay, to win, to go to the next level, and from hitting that ceiling, as they say.
Yeah. So the first thing that drives me is the people I have around me. Because if you're not personally growing, you're going to flatline and you're going to hit that ceiling. And what happens is if you hit that ceiling, then you can't attract talented people. People's not going to grow with you. But as a leader, if you break that ceiling by hanging out with people smarter than you know, getting very comfortable being uncomfortable, if always growing, reading new material, just like this fixed roundtable, being involved in there. Cause I'm looking at the guys you're interviewing. It's like, oh my gosh, they've been through so much and I need to learn from those guys. And just by being connected with y'all the past year, I've learned so much from the guys you've had on there. And so it's allowed me to grow. But then what's cool about it is the people that I serve, that I lead, they grow with me also.
Yeah.
And when I see, because I have a young lady that started out as a what we call pretty much she started out as a salesperson and she didn't like sales, so she went into service and just was a what we call a customer advocate. So it's kind of a modified porter, and she did great with that. And then she wanted more, so we started training her leadership. So she became a lane manager. She became the best service advisor in our whole entire group. And recently, 2 months ago, we promoted her to assistant service manager, and she is just she's phenomenal. And when I see her, we took somebody that was not, in her life, she wasn't making that great of money. She didn't feel valued. And now
Mhm.
she's tripled her income. She's
Wow.
a front, she's going to be one of our service managers one day. And when I see that turnaround, when you impact people's lives, not financially, but when you impact one person's life, it bleeds into their family life, and you can tell their family's getting better, their financial situation's getting better, and that what drives me. Because when I see that, it's like, okay, I got to get better myself. So that's what really fuels my passion is when I see people grow like that.
And I think that's part of the gift, right? Being a leader, that you'll help others grow. And so that seems to be a big part of Jeremy Stevens and what you do.
Oh yeah, definitely. That's and I just love people and I love seeing them grow. I love to see that person that everybody's kind of, nah, he's not good, but you see something in that person, and then once you find their strengths and you fertilize that strengths, and then they take off, and that gives me the joy that you know if the money's important because everybody wants to earn a paycheck, but once you see that and experience people growing and see their family succeed, it all comes together.
Wow. Jeremy Stevens is with us, everybody. He's fixed operations director, and you can't miss him on social media. So, Jeremy, if I had to ask you, for our audience who are dealers and fixed ops directors like yourself, general managers, service managers, parts managers, reconditioning managers, if I had to ask you for any advice looking out over the next part of 2023, here we are in the middle of May, we still got 6.5 months to go. What would it be? What would you tell your peers if you had 30 seconds to, just to talk to them in an elevator and, advise them what they should be aware of and doing, for the rest of the year?
So I'm always a fix me first person, um, because if you can fix yourself as the leader and start with that, everything else falls into place every single time. And that's probably the short form. That's fix yourself first. Everything else fixes itself too.
Start within. Jeremy Stevens, his contact information is scrolling across the bottom here. You can reach him, of course, on LinkedIn. He's on Facebook. I know that. His Gmail is on here. And that's your cell phone. It says call or text, right?
Yep. Definitely. Definitely text me. I kind of respond faster to text because I'm usually on the phone, and I'll definitely get back with you.
All right. Well, Jeremy, on behalf of the Fixed Ops Roundtable, I want to thank you so much for your time and contributing to this event, the panels, and all you do for fixed operations. We're very grateful to have you.
All right. Thank you for having me.
Jeremy Stevens, everybody, with us today at the Fixed Ops Roundtable.